Good morning to our viewers in Asia and hello to others watching from around the world. Welcome to ARIRANG News Break. I'm Han-daeun in Seoul. We start with the 2016 general election, now just 1 day away. With polling stations set to open at the crack of dawn on Wednesday, Korea's political parties have a limited amount of time to get undecided voters on their side. Kim Mo-kyun reports.
Voting for the 2016 general election will begin simultaneously at 13,837 polling stations nationwide on Wednesday morning. Eligible voters will be able to cast their ballots between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. on Election Day. The National Election Commission forecasts that the results could start coming in from as early as 10 p.m. in major districts and from midnight in closely contested areas. 300 National Assembly lawmakers will be elected based on a parallel voting system made up of 253 district representatives and 47 proportional representatives. With time running out to sway the minds of undecided voters, the leaders of Korea's political parties are making one last push. The ruling Saenuri Party is campaigning under the slogan Work National Assembly, from a dormant National Assembly to a working National Assembly. Ruling party officials have stressed the importance of securing a majority in the assembly to successfully see out the current Park Geun-hye administration, which will end late next year. The main opposition Minju Party of Korea's campaign slogan is "The problem is the economy, the answer is to vote." It has targeted up to 107 seats, saying it wants the public to hold the ruling party responsible for the sluggish economy. The minor opposition People's Party opted for "The problem is politics, it's now time for number 3." Led by business tycoon turned politician An Chol-soo, the party has highlighted the need for change, calling on the nation to judge both the ruling and main opposition party. The People's Party is aiming for 40 seats. Given the relatively high early voting rate, the National Election Commission is forecasting a turnout in the upper 50% range, although it does depend on variables such as the weather. 42.1 million citizens are eligible to vote this year, up 4.7% from the last general election in 2012. Kim Mo-kyun, ARIRANG News.
Now to some news that indicates more young people in Korea are taking a greater interest in this year's election than ones gone by. Election fever is twice as hot on social networking services than it was for the previous general election 4 years ago. According to local big data firm Daumsoft, the number of posts on blogs and Twitter regarding this year's general election topped 11,000 per 100,000 from March 13th to April 7th, about 2.7 times more than in the run-up to the 2012 general election. The firm predicts voter turnout will be higher this year as a number of big political issues, including the main opposition party's record-breaking filibuster in late February, have boosted the public's interest in politics. The most frequently mentioned phrases were early voting, election campaign, candidate nomination, president, and proportional representative. North Korea's foreign minister is expected to visit the UN headquarters in New York next week to take part in the signing of the Paris Agreement, a landmark deal on climate change reached last year. Lee Soo-young's trip is gaining more attention for other reasons, though, as it'll be his first visit to New York since last month's adoption of the strongest ever UN sanctions against Pyongyang for its nuclear and missile provocations. There's speculation Lee could hold talks with his U.S. counterpart John Kerry, as North Korea recently expressed its desire for dialogue with the United States. A more likely meeting could take place with UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, as was the case during the North Korean diplomat's previous 2 visits. But the UN has yet to make any confirmation. And staying with North Korea, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has said the United States is ready to impose even tougher sanctions on Pyongyang if it goes ahead with another provocation. Kerry issued the warning at a news conference in Hiroshima on Monday after a meeting with other representatives from the G7. The latest move comes as there are concerns North Korea could conduct another nuclear test ahead of the birthday of its supreme leader Kim Il-sung on Friday. Despite the warning, Kerry said Washington is open to peace talks with Pyongyang and willing to provide economic and other kinds of assistance if the regime abandons its nuclear program. Korea's export prices dropped for the first time in 4 months in March. The Bank of Korea says the export prices were down 1.5% from the previous month. The central bank attributes the slide to the strengthening Korean won against the U.S. dollar. The local currency gained 2.4% against the greenback in March from the month before. Despite a pickup in global oil prices, import prices remained unchanged due to the exchange rate. The price of Dubai crude, Korea's benchmark, rose over 20% in March compared to the previous month. U.S. public health officials have warned that the spread and impact of the Zika virus in the United States is a lot wider than they had anticipated. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says the virus has been linked to a broader range of birth defects and that pregnant women were vulnerable to contracting Zika for longer than previously thought. Officials also warned of severe consequences if U.S. Congress doesn't fund the fight against the Zika virus. Republicans in Congress have been reluctant to approve the White House's requested $1.9 billion funding to fight Zika. They say the Obama administration should use what was left over from the Ebola crisis. And that does it for now. Stick around for more in-depth news coming up at noon.